Guys, this is Tia from Nail Dip Studio. So many of you have been purchasing the dip kits, and I wanted to get on here and do a tutorial showing you how to exactly use your dip kit. If you have not already, go ahead and check out my website. It's www.naildipstudio.com, and I have dip kits over there. I have finishing essentials, and I also have an assortment of shades that are amazing. I also in this video threw in a quick photo of my sort of nail station that I have at home. So right here, I wanted to put together a little video real quick, as if you were someone who is, listen, I just wanted to test out her products. And I just received the dip kit. Where do I start? Well, this is where you want to start. Right here in this particular clip, I am actually buffing my nails, and I'm buffing around and cleaning up any rough areas that I may have, or textured areas that I may have on my natural nail bed. I'm also using the edge, the edge of the buffer, to lift up and remove any cuticle or any other dead or dry skin. Also, you want to make sure that you are focusing on hangnails, if you have any hangnails as well. So I like to smooth out the surface using the buffer. I find that that's usually the best thing for me to sort of do, and especially if you are new to doing your own nails, I would definitely say start out with the buffer. Okay, like I said, right here I want you to notice how I'm sort of feeling around. I'm feeling around my nail just to see if I've missed anything, and then sometimes, this is not a race, so I want you to take your time when you're doing your nails, and making sure that you're prepping your nails very good, because the proper prep equals to proper overlay. Like if your nail prep is off, then you're not going to get that smooth overlay that you might want to have. Now right here I am using a cuticle softener just to help to remove and lift the cuticle that is on my nail, and I like to massage that piece in, just using the California Mango softener. Now you can use any softener that you want, or if you do not have a softener, don't worry. Then what I want you to do is I want you to go and wash your hands in warm soapy water, but I want you to leave your hands under that soapy water for at least like a minute or two, and that should help soften that. Okay, now in your kit you should have received a cuticle stick. The cuticle stick right here, as you can see, has a pink tip on it. That pink tip is also a like a cuticle buffer, if you will. And what I'm doing is I'm using the tip of the cuticle pusher as well as the cuticle softener to push up and remove any cuticle, any skin that may be in and around the cuticle area. And this is going to help you, especially if you're new to this. This is the equivalent of a dry manicure, okay? So I'm not getting the entire nail wet. My hand is not wet at all, but I am using the cuticle softener, and I am really being gentle. It may not look like that, but I'm not being abrasive or hard on my my cuticles, because that, it's very tender around that area. But you do want to use the back of that stick to assist you in pushing your cuticle back, and using almost like the cuticle eraser to lift up any type of membrane or skin that may be in and around that cuticle area and along your side walls. That's what I use that for. Okay, and sometimes if the skin is stubborn, then I might go left to right with it just to help loosen it up, so that I'm not jabbing myself with the cuticle eraser. Now I'm going to take a towel, and I'm going to wipe off the cuticle softener, and this is also going to allow me to wipe off any parts of the cuticle that I was able to lift up with the cuticle eraser. Now as I move into my next step, I always pay attention and sort of look at my nails just to make sure that, I'm creating that smile. I like to have the cuticle smile. I like to have those sort of uniformed, if you will. So, and this is how you can do it without having an e-file. Now, I went and grabbed my nippers. You want to make sure that you have some nippers. And what I'm doing here is I'm just pushing my nippers together and using the pointy edge, being extremely careful. But I use this to sort of clean underneath my nails and just get any gunk, any debris, any food or whatever makeup that I may have underneath my nails. So I like to do that. I'm also going to use my nippers to remove any skin that came up in the process that we just did. So I like to do that, being very careful and taking my time. Now, you can get your nippers from you can get them from Amazon. If your local TJ Maxx or Ross or Marshalls, if they're open, they have nippers in there as well. You can also go to CVS and Target and Walmart, Sally's, and get them. So you can get them from a number of places. But what I would strongly suggest that you do is you take your time and just remove the skin, but don't go too far back. You don't want to cut yourself. You don't want to bruise yourself, because if you do and you have an open sore, it's not ideal to keep going forward with doing your nails, because now you have an open sore that needs to actually heal. Okay, so I would definitely take my time, and I always go, it's almost like I nitpick, like I take a little bit off, and then I'll, take a little bit more and a little bit more. I don't necessarily go in for the big, cut off, or I can't do that, because, you never know what you might hit. Okay, you may think your eyes can sometimes play tricks on you, and then you can go too far back. And so once I'm satisfied with the skin removal process with my nippers, I will then go back in with my nail buffer, and I will use that as the final buff out, just to remove anything that I didn't pick up with my my nippers. I'm also going to use the fingernail file that is included in your dip kit. So if you got a dip kit, you know that I include a fingernail file that's 100 over 180. The 100 grit is going to be a grittier file, the grittier side of the file, and then the 180 is going to be more of like a softer, smoother file. I prefer to use that, especially going around the cuticle and down the side walls, and even shaping my nails. Okay, so this is what I like to do. I'm being extremely gentle, and this is something that I wanted to show those of you who actually purchased the kit. If you're new to my channel, I talk because this is my way of holding your hand. I'm not there with you physically in the physical form as you're doing your overlay, so hopefully this type of tutorial will help you. Okay, so again, using the 180 side of the nail file, I'm taking that and I am just going around and just basically cleaning up any area that I see on my nail that needs some, special attention. I go through and I use that file to do so. If you just purchased the liquid set, because a lot of people did just purchase the liquid set, just make sure that the nail file that you're using has a 180 side or higher, like 180. They have some that have like 200. There's some that are 240, and so on. But try not to use the 100 side, because I find that it can take off too much. It can take off too much product. It can take off too much nail. And that's just not what you want to do. You really just want to smooth out the surface while providing texture, which may sound a little like an oxymoron, but it's definitely necessary. You don't want you want a smooth surface, but you want that surface to have some texture to it. So that's why I do the buff and the nail file. Okay. Now that's looking pretty good to me. Now I'm going to take, again, still doing the 180, but now I'm doing my nail filing. And this is one of the things that, you know, if you've watched some of my other videos, I always preach about shaping your nails prior to doing your acrylic overlay. You want to make sure that you're shaping your nails, I would say at least 80% of the way. Like you want, so if you're going to do a tapered, squared nail look, like, you know, one of my signature looks, then you need to start tapering your nail in this stage right here, not when you put on the actual acrylic. Because what's going to happen is if you don't sort of shape and form your nails in this particular process, when you put that overlay on, it's going to set to the natural shape of your nail. Okay, and once it sort of sets to the natural shape of your nail, you're going to have to over direct the product to get to the shape that you want to have, because you didn't shape your natural nail in the beginning of the application. So this is something that I tend to do. Now, because this is just me, I'm doing my nails at home. I like to work with alcohol a lot. So in this particular clip, I am showing you after I did all of that, I'm just taking a cotton swab with alcohol and I'm wiping off my nail. Now, this is another tip in dehydrating your nails and removing the oils and all the product from your nails. Now, some may go and wash their hands. That's perfectly fine. But I would honestly say once you wash your hands, allow your hands to sit for at least 5 minutes before you start the application process. Alcohol dries quicker. So that's why I use alcohol on my nails, okay? So right here, we're actually moving into step 1. Step 1 is the primer. And you're going to apply the primer to each nail. And I like to apply 2 coats of primer to my nails. And I also sweep the free edge, that exposed nail, the tip of my nail. I also like to sweep that with the primer as well, because I will have products down there, and I like to make sure that product adheres. Right here you can sort of see how I'm sweeping that primer on the actual tip of my nail, my natural nail, and that's just so that product adheres. Okay, so I want to make sure that I put that in there. I didn't do much editing to this video either, so just know that I want you to sort of see all of the various applications that I go through. As you can see, it's a little pause here, and now we're going into step 2. So step 2 is the actual base coat, and this is the coat that you're going to use to apply your reinforcement layer as well as your full overlay layers. When I do dip on my natural nails, I always usually do 2 reinforcement dips, and those are what I like to call reinforcement dips because they are, I usually put that layer over my weakest point on my nail, and I like to do that so that I reinforce the strength that I need to have, so that, you know, if you suffer from like your nails bending in the center, that's because there's not enough strength in the center of your nail. Okay, now for today's tutorial, I'm using, this is Vegasbaby, and I'm using Frost as my dip shades. So right here, I'm starting my reinforcement dip with clear, the clear coat. So for those of you who have purchased any glitter that I have, so I have Vegasbaby and Icon currently on the site, you would want to do this step, okay? Half dip in your clear, all right? And then again, I'm now going in for my second reinforced dip, just a half dip. Notice I didn't go all the way up, and I'm not sweeping it on the sides. I'm just focusing that clear dead center in my nail. And that's going to, one, create that curve, but it's also going to help reinforce the center part of my nail so that my nails don't bend. Okay, and I wanted to show that to you so that you can actually see that. Now, if you have a glitter shade, I don't care if it's my shade or someone else's shade, you have to encapsulate the glitter. If you do not encapsulate the glitter, the glitter will actually not, you'll see texture throughout your nails, and it's not a pretty look. So you have to encapsulate it. So right here, I am actually going in for my first full dip. And I am going to take that product, sweep it across the free edge, take it up close to the cuticle. I am going to dip my ring finger into the glitter shade icon. I'm sorry, that's Vegasbaby. Into Vegasbaby. I'm going to tap it off. And before I move on to the next nail, I'm going to stick with the glitter shade. You know, make sure that I completely do the 2 overlays or 3 overlays needed for the look that I'm going for before I move on to Frost. Frost is it's like the lightest gray that I have that's not white, but it's almost white. Okay. And I just decided to play around with Vegasbaby because so many people have been purchasing Vegasbaby and Icon. And I know on my channel I haven't sort of done this sort of encapsulation piece, and I wanted to do that. So again, using my base, putting that layer on my natural nail, sweeping it across the free edge, and then double dipping into Vegasbaby, tapping off the excess. Okay. I'm now going to push Vegasbaby to the side, bring over the clear, okay? Bring over my clear. I'm going to dust off any, additional powder that I have from Vegasbaby back into the container. And then I'm going to do a final dip into the clear, okay? And again, like I stated, you have to encapsulate your glitter shades. If you don't want to encapsulate, then I would honestly suggest that you not purchase Icon and Vegasbaby, or any glitter shade for that matter, because you need to make sure it's not going to pop, it's not going to shine, it's going to be lumpy, it's going to be bumpy, it's just not going to give you that look that you're looking for. It's not going to be there. So I'm taking the base coat again, doing a very thin layer, sweeping the base coat across the free edge, okay? Tapping the clear, doing a dip, and then I'm going to double dip it again just to make sure that I, got product distributed it. Wait a minute. I want to make sure that I got the clear powder evenly distributed throughout the nail, because I'm going to be dusting that off. And then once I dust that off, I'm going to also apply my my bonding agent. That's step number 3. But I want to do that real quick. And it may look like it's like, oh my God, it's cloudy. It's not giving me, the pop that I'm looking for. Trust me. That's the way you want it to look. You want it to look like that in order for you to have that shine that you're looking for. I promise you, when I put the bond on, you'll sort of see like a glimpse of what I'm talking about. It's like, oh, okay, I see what she's saying now. So when I apply the bond to it, see how it shines up, and then it's just going to go, it's going to matte back down. But what it's doing is like the clear is actually bonding with the Vegasbaby powder that we just applied, and the two are coming together as one. And then once I go in later on and shape and buff and then polish it with the top coat, it's going to have this amazing shine to it. Very, very nice shine. So like I said, I'm using cross today in this video. So I'm going to show you how to, again, apply that shade. Now this shade has no shimmer. It's just a flat, almost like a matte powder, which is something that I like. I do like my sort of matte shades. I'm going to do a half dip. That's my reinforcement dip on my pinky. And I'm going to go ahead and do that on this hand. And then I'm going to come back and do it again. I always do 2 reinforcement dips on my nails. Some may do 1. Some individuals may not do any. They may just do a full, go straight into the full dip. So, you know, make sure that you are using and applying the product based on your needs for your hand, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and move on to my pointer finger, doing the same thing. I'm going to do this a couple of more times. So I'm going to let you watch this clip and I'll be back. Now that we've done all of the reinforcement dips, I am now moving into my first full overlay dip. Okay, and I want to show you right here. So using the same cuticle pusher, the bottom part of that you can actually use to stir your powder up, and I like to do that from time to time. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and apply my first full layer of base so that I can do my first overlay dip, okay? And take your time when you're doing this. You always want to sort of take your time, okay? And don't forget, always dust the free edge because you need to apply product there so that you can create the grip needed to avoid lifting. A lot of people experience lifting, and that's because you don't have enough product at the free edge, at the free edge to actually form the grip. So you want to make sure that you always dust a small thin layer of product on the free edge to really create that bond and to create that grip so that you can avoid lifting, okay? That's something that I do throughout and pretty much on all of my tutorials, okay? Going into an angle, you always want to sort of go down into an angle. You never want to just dunk it like straight. You always want to go in, I would say, like at like a 90-degree angle. You want to go in like that, maybe 45 or 90-degree angle, and sort of go in based on your comfort level, but never dunk straight down, because that will create waves on your nails, and you'll have like little squiggly like waves because the liquid would have sort of been pushed up, and it creates this wave, and now you have to overfile to get that corrected. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out. Again, I like to tap the powder off with my finger before I dust everything off, because I like my product to sort of sit for a second before I go and dust. And that's also because I like a true color payoff too. I don't like a hint of the color. I like the full color. Like I want HD on my nails. So that's why I like to let the additional powder sit before I dust everything off. Okay. Again, use the desk countertop to shake up the powder and to resettle it, but tap off any extra with your finger. Now I like to go in with the brush once I've done everything, and then dust everything off, and then I will go in with my second full dip. Okay, so I'm gonna let you watch this clip and I'll be back. Now that I've completed my second full dip, I'm just looking at my nails, trying to see if I like the color, if I like the thickness, and I am going to apply a third layer of the powder. I felt like I needed to add one more layer, one more thin layer. And my nails, I always have like a thin look to my nails, but I have the strength, um, of acrylic, but it's very thin. I don't have thick um, looking nails or anything like that. So a third layer won't hurt. So I'm going to apply that third layer on my middle finger. I applied too much product on purpose because I wanted to create a scenario where I could show you if you apply too much or if you get one of those little ripples, how to repair it. Okay. So again, I dipped directly over it, and I will show you later on how to repair, how to buff that out and everything and smooth that out, and it will be as if, oh, nothing happened, trust me. But I'm going to apply a third layer, and yeah, I'll let you watch this clip and I will be back. Now that I've done everything, finished the dips, dusted everything off, I'm now moving into step number 3, which is the bond. So I'm going to apply the bond to my entire hand, and I'm going to apply that. Keep in mind that I have about, realistically, like four and a half dips on my nails. So I want to apply the bond to my nails so that it can penetrate those layers and really create the bond that I need to have in order for my nails not to get weak on me, so that the product doesn't start lifting in certain areas, and also so that when I start the buffing and the filing process, everything has set. Okay. Again, going back to my handy dandy nail file, I'm using the 180 side. I am going to start with the curved section, and I usually like to go side wall, then I go to the cuticle, then I finish up with the free edge, and then once I have the top and the sides shaped, then I go in and I start my tapering process because I like a tapered nail. And so I'm going to walk you through those steps. I'm going to let you sort of watch the video. It's pretty much self-explanatory at this point. I'm just using, the 180 file. If you're having issues holding your nail, you can use the surface of your table to help support as you're shaping your nail. So if you want a straight nail, no taper, then you would just file your nail straight, no taper. If you want your nails tapered, then you would, again, make sure you clean up around your cuticle, around your side walls. Make sure that you're shaping your your free edge, right? So if you want a squared look, that you're squaring it out. And then I start the tapering process. And when I start my tapering process, I go down, but I'm going down at an angle. Okay, so I'm almost like over directing the file to the opposite side, and then I take the file and I go the opposite side and over direct it that way, so that I get the taperedness that I'm looking for without causing any damage to the overlay that we just did. Plus, I'm not damaging my natural nail underneath because I'm not over filing anything. I'm just really focusing on tapering it out with the lighter grit so that the product isn't disturbed. I know that it might sound confusing, but you'll see in this clip what I'm talking about. So I'm going to let you sort of follow me in this clip, and I'll be back. Now that everything is filed and you're satisfied with the filing results, I'm going to take my buffer and I'm going to start to buff everything out. I like to buff my nails, because this is another thing. If you don't properly buff your nails are going to show the filing grooves. And when your nails show the filing grooves, when you add your clear coat over top, your top coat over top of that, you're going to see a shiny version of the filing grooves that you just did with the nail file. So that's why I like to buff. I probably over buff in a sense. I like to really buff, not too much, but I like to make sure that I don't feel any texture. So at the end of this clip, you'll see me, after I finish buffing everything, sort of feel, because I'm feeling for, does this feel like I can still feel lines or grit or, anything that will show up, because the top coat will magnify it. It will magnify it. So like if you have little lines on your nails from filing, like if, let's say you use the 100 side, so you're going to have, like, you're going to see where the grit, the file sort of hit the nail, and you can see those lines. Well, if you don't properly buff those sort of imperfections or those lines out, then what's going to happen is when you apply your top coat, they're going to magnify. It's like you're going to be able to see every stroke that you used with that nail file. So that's something that I like to do. And then I always like to take, as you can see here, the back straight part of the nail file just to clean up my workstation, just so that I can sort of start to see what it is that I'm doing. Again, like I stated, I feel for texture. If I feel texture, if I see texture, or if it's something that's sort of bugging me that I don't like, I will buff it out and reshape it. Taking a cotton swab, I'm now moving on to the alcohol again. I prefer using alcohol. I did that in the prep, and I do that after I file. I do not go and wet my nails, because when you're doing your nails and you apply that water, sometimes that water will sit in your nails and your nails are still wet. Alcohol evaporates quicker. So that's why I use alcohol versus the water. But if you wash your hands, and you've done dip before, if you washed your hands, sort of sat down and applied your top coat, and notice that you have water spots on your nails, like water spots look like white matte circles on your nails, that's because those spots were still wet. And so when you applied the top coat lost the battle with the water, like the water won. So the top coat that you applied, the water was still saturated on that nail, and as a result, the two bonded, and the water said, okay, well, let me just draw out the moisture that you're trying to put there with this particular product, and created that water spot. So that's why I always opt to use alcohol, because it evaporates like that, and you can move on to the top coat process. And then after everything has settled and dried, then I go and wash my hands. But that's just something that I like to do. So, try it out if you haven't. If you've had issues with water spots, then try the alcohol method, and let me know in the comment sections if that worked for you. But right here, I'm applying a thin layer of top coat, and I apply 2 layers of top coat. The first layer that I will apply, I usually let that sit for about a minute, maybe a minute and a half, before I apply the second coat. When I apply the second coat, I then let my nails sit for about 5 to, I would say, maybe 7 or 8 minutes. If you have a small fan, or if you have maybe like if you have a vent, you can stand under a vent, and let that cold air hit your hand. But that's going to help speed up the drying time. But you want to make sure that your nails are completely dry. Another thing that I like to do is sometimes I will sort of bump my nails to see, and if I feel like a pull, I know that they're not all the way dry. Okay, so hopefully this video was helpful. Again, I just wanted to demonstrate how to use the dip kit. If you got the dip kit, if you got the complete, a dip kit with the powder, if you got the dip kit with a glitter shade, I wanted to show you how I would go about using it. Hopefully this video was helpful. As always, keep dipping. And until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.